as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm amber glow over the sprawling highways of Virginia. Olivia Bennett navigated her sedan through the tranquil countryside. The newly appointed director of the FBI had just departed from a confidential meeting that had stretched longer than anticipated. The weight of her new responsibilities pressed heavily on her shoulders, and the solitude of the open road provided a brief respite, a moment to process the gravity of her position and the challenges that lay ahead. The rhythmic hum of the tires against the asphalt was suddenly interrupted by the glaring flash of red and blue lights in her rearview mirror. Olivia's eyes darted to the speedometer, a steady 65 miles per hour, precisely within the limit. Confusion knitted her brows as she signaled and pulled over to the side of the desolate road. The isolation of the area was palpable, with no other vehicles in sight and the encroaching darkness amplifying her unease. Through the side mirror, Olivia observed the officer's approach. His silhouette was rigid, exuding an air of authority that felt more oppressive than reassuring. The beam of his flashlight cut through the dim interior of her car, momentarily blinding her as she lowered the window, ensuring her hands remained visible on the steering wheel. "Good evening, officer," she greeted, her tone measured and professional. The officer's response was terse, devoid of the customary courtesy. "License and registration." Something about his demeanor unsettled Olivia. There was an edge to his voice, a cold detachment that set off alarms in her mind. Drawing on her extensive experience, she knew the importance of maintaining composure. "May I inquire about the reason for this stop?" she asked, her voice unwavering. A prolonged silence followed. The officer's jaw tightened, his gaze fixed intently on her. "License and registration," he repeated, his tone brooking no argument. Olivia's instincts, honed by years in the field, whispered that this encounter was far from routine. "Sir, I'm reaching for my purse on the passenger's seat," she informed him, moving deliberately to avoid any misinterpretation. Retrieving her wallet, she presented both her driver's license and her FBI credentials. The officer's eyes flicked over the identification, a flicker of recognition crossing his features. Yet, instead of the expected deference or acknowledgement, his expression hardened further. "Step out of the vehicle," he ordered, taking a half step back, his hand now ominously close to his holstered weapon. A surge of adrenaline coursed through Olivia's veins. The situation had escalated with alarming speed. "Excuse me," she queried, seeking clarification and stalling for time to assess her options. "Step out," he reiterated, his posture aggressive, the tension between them thickening the air. Olivia was acutely aware of the precariousness of her position. Complying could expose her to unknown risks, but defiance might provoke a violent reaction. Before she could make a decision, the officer's hand shot out, gripping the door handle with force. "Step back, officer," Olivia commanded, her voice firm. "You're violating protocol." His grip tightened, knuckles widening. "I said step out." Drawing on her training, Olivia knew she couldn't allow herself to be removed from the relative safety of her vehicle without just cause. "Officer, you're out of line. I will not exit my vehicle without a valid reason." The standoff was interrupted by the arrival of another police cruiser, its tires crunching against the gravel as it came to a halt behind the first. For a fleeting moment, relief washed over Olivia. Another officer meant another witness. However, as the second officer approached, her hope dwindled. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and notably lacked a visible nameplate. His eyes met those of his colleague, a silent communication passing between them. "Problem here?" the newcomer inquired, his tone laced with insinuation. "Just dealing with a non-compliant driver," the first officer responded, his eyes never leaving Olivia. The second officer stepped closer, his presence imposing. "Ma'am, step out of the vehicle." The deliberate omission of her title was not lost on Olivia. She was no longer the FBI director in their eyes. She was merely a ma'am, a civilian subject to their authority. The realization sent a chill down her spine. "This isn't about a traffic violation, is it?" Olivia challenged, her gaze shifting between the two officers. The first officer smirked, a cold, humorless expression. "You need to step out now." Before she could respond, he reached for her wrist, his grip bruising. Instinctively, Olivia recoiled, her training kicking in. "Get your hands off me," she demanded, her voice echoing in the stillness. The second officer's hand moved to his radio. "We have a non-compliant suspect," he reported, the words deliberate and damning. Suspect. The label hung heavily in the air. Not a citizen. Not the director of the FBI. A suspect. The situation teetered on the edge of chaos. The first officer's patience snapped. He drew his firearm, the barrel leveling inches from Olivia's face. Time seemed to freeze, the gravity of the moment pressing down on her. Then, piercing the oppressive silence, a voice rang out from the shadows. "I'm recording this." Both officers' heads snapped toward the source. A man stood at the edge of the road, his smartphone held aloft, its screen casting a bluish glow on his determined face. The red recording light blinked steadily, a silent sentinel witnessing the unfolding drama. The officers hesitated, the power dynamic shifting imperceptibly. The second officer shifted uncomfortably, uncertainty flickering across his features. The first officer's gun wavered slightly, the presence of a camera introducing an unanticipated variable. In the distance, the wail of approaching sirens grew louder. Additional police units were converging on the scene. The officers exchanged a glance. The calculus had changed. As the new arrivals stepped out of their vehicles, their faces registered shock and recognition upon seeing Olivia. "Director Bennett?" one of them exclaimed, disbelief coloring his tone. The atmosphere transformed instantaneously. The first officer's gun lowered, his face paling as the ramifications of his actions dawned on him. Within moments, he was disarmed and placed in handcuffs, his partner standing to the side, his expression a mix of confusion and fear. By morning, footage of the encounter had spread like wildfire across social media platforms, igniting public outrage. The Justice Department launched an immediate investigation, and by noon, charges were filed against the offending officers. Olivia had witnessed the wheels of justice turn slowly in the past, but this time, they moved with unprecedented speed. The incident served as a stark reminder of the systemic issues plaguing law enforcement, a microcosm of a larger, more pervasive problem. To those who watched and listened, let this be a call to vigilance. This isn't solely about individual misconduct. It's about a system that permits such abuses to fester. If this story resonates with you, share it. Speak out. Silence is complicity,